Welcome, dear friends of the Yarnchix Podcast. I'm super happy to have you here. My name is Mimi and I podcast from Berlin in Germany, and it is a very sunny day, so the sunlight is reflecting of our neighbors, like the house on the opposite side of the road. So it's very bright in our living room, and I'm really happy to have carved out some time on my day off. It's Tuesday, the 2nd of March, and I'm sitting here to record podcast episode 46. So if you haven't already, grab a cup of tea or a drink of your choice. Sit back, relax, and watch me talk about knitting, about mending, about reading, and about some more fun things here in this corner of YouTube. You would have seen my little dog Marie is sitting with me, and with all the stuff I've gathered around me, I've decided to change up a little bit the order of things, mainly because I want to be a little bit more organized with my podcast. Otherwise I'll be sitting here and chatting for hours, and then when I edit I have lots more hours of work waiting for me to try and cut it down to around an hour's episode. I'm hoping I would have managed to make it more like 40 minutes this time, simply by not sharing about all the makes I did. However, I suspect I'm gonna get all chatty about what I've brought, so, mark my words, you will know the minutes, and I'll put them down here after editing. And was I right? Was I wrong? Did I manage 45 minutes, or is it an hour again? I decided to edit by actually putting admin at the front and giving you a time limit where I start talking about finished objects, whips, acquisitions, mending, and all that. I'm going to put the minutes down here, but I'm going to start with admin because I always think that's a good thing to get that out of the way, because for me that's a bit boring, or I don't know, it might be a bit boring, and I want to kind of say it before I get into the chatty bit. And I'm going to limit myself by just sharing one finished object, one or two works in progress, one mending project that I introduced last week, and maybe a new one. As well as this week, because I've just come out the other end of my birthday week. Acquisitions is going to be quite fun because I've had some birthday acquisitions, so I'm going to share that just before going over to the Tarot Knit Oracle. And the end of this episode will be marked with a knit reportage, which is me talking a little bit and sharing visual stuff. So I think I'm gonna do like a voiceover about my kombucha brewing. So that is black tea fermentation projects in my kitchen. So I thought I'll share that this time. Yes, so I have something super excited brewing. I've had this spontaneous idea, And all of March, I'm gonna surprise you with a shop update on a Sunday. The shop update will be either on Etsy or just here in a brand new Instagram account. I'm gonna add the name here. It's gonna be Mimi Snijder's, and it's gonna be my second-hand mended and knitwear project. What is Mimi Snijder? Mimi Snijder's is a good old school department store. Basically, I'm gonna upload all sorts of finds from kids' clothes, toys I've handmade, toys I've mended, toys we've had that might be fun to share, clothes that kids have grown out of, or things that I've found on secondhand markets, and I will include some homeware, books. It's gonna be all sorts. So imagine it's gonna be like a tiny curated shop which imagines this big backdrop of a department store in the background, and you just get these little selections. I'm gonna start this upcoming Sunday with my first shop update. Why I'm calling it a shop update is because the handmade stuff or mended stuff, so items that I would have spent a lot more time on than just simply taking them out of the kind of flea market box as you wish. Those I will put on Etsy with proper photographs and a proper price. And the other ones you can DM me, so it will be the Instagram account as a kind of shop front, and then there will be links if there are bigger items like furniture in the future. Like we have lots of kids' room furniture that I'm gonna sell locally on eBay, which is kind of most practical. I will, however, add pictures there, so if there's some Berliners, maybe there's something that interests you when it comes to the kind of bigger stuff. And I'm excited for this idea, and Mimi Snijder is just kind of like a alter ego who is going to sell this, and potentially more will happen from that, but I'm very excited. I've got a little sneak peek because if I look on the camera, if you kind of can tell as much as when I look at this, I'm gonna try and color coordinate it. So this weekend is reds and yellows, and I'm excited to take the photographs and prepare it all during the week. And then come Sunday, there'll be this tiny little shop update of handmade goods, toys and homeware, as well as vintage clothes, mended, and kind of flea market situation. It all grew from my idea of how much I miss going to flea markets and selling, as well as shopping at flea markets for myself and my family. And I thought this would be a way to give something like that to the community. And I'm excited. I'm excited for March to be this kind of playful experiment and getting Mimi Snijder to start her little shop up. So let's see where it goes. That was the only admin really for this episode, that I've had this idea that I wanted to share about. So we will go into some knitting now. object for episode 46 of my Yarnchix podcast is the pair of mittens that I finished. So I joined in with the Maker's Minutes Knit-along by Denise, who's Earth Tones Girl, and Marce, who's Hey Brown Berry, and their amazing podcasts and their amazing way of pulling people together in this community make-along. It was just beautiful. I was really touched by the communications I had with friends, people I met, and mitten patterns I got to see. And I'm very pleased I managed to finish a pair. You might have seen I changed, I have two different cast on colors so that I can easily tell them apart. I used Jamieson's jumper weight. It is the Wool Brokers. I still don't understand why there's Jamiesons of Shetland and Jamiesons and Smiths, but I think it has something to do with the split in the company, and now there's two names. Spinners on the Shetland Islands in the far north of Scotland. I absolutely love this brown, and I love the kind of pastel-y color combinations. I had a bit of issues choosing the color for the trees. I was about to change it to kind of a darker green, but ended up staying with warm green color, which I'm super happy. I had support from my lovely patrons, and also I think I ran an Instagram live and people were like, keep that color, keep that color, keep that color. And I was like, yes, thank you for recognizing my worry and, listening in on my issue and supporting me with the decision for this color. I finished them the day before Valentine's, and on Valentine's we went sledging, so they came in really handy because we had lots of snow back then. I have, however, got a bit of a gauge issue, and I don't know if you can tell, the bottom one, so this one, the one with the yellow edge, is a bit bigger. So the one with the pink edge actually fits perfectly. It's really snug around my fingers. It's like a hug, and it feels perfect. Whereas I made this for my right hand. When I put on this mitten, I've got about a berry too wide a space up from the top of my pinky, basically. This area is a bit too loose in comparison. I think it might have something to do with changing needles, because I invested into a new set of DPNs and changed the needles, and I had finished knitting these on these vintage steel DPNs that were quite long, and I liked working with them, but they're quite heavy and they kept falling out. With a wool like this, it doesn't matter if your DPN, if your needle falls out, you just pick up the stitches, they just stay. It's kind of magic, but wool is really good and forgiving like that. However, I ended up investing into lighter aluminium needles, and I thought I'd bought the same size, but maybe I was a quarter size off. So I think maybe the top here should have been knit with a 2.25 instead of the 2.5 I ended up using. Hence, it's wider, like the gauge is different. I'm thinking to just simply rip back to just underneath these yellow berries, this row of yellow berries, maybe a little bit into these branches, and actually use the 2.25 and finish up again. Is a little mend, but I know that next winter I will appreciate if I have fixed them. I had another pair of mittens that I fixed after wearing them for 2 years, and I'm still super grateful to myself for extending them. They had been a bit too short and they kept kind of squishing my fingers down. So that adjustment is appreciated. I wear those mittens now and they don't squash my fingers, so I'm more happy, and I think I will be happier if I change the gauge on that one mitten that's slightly too loose. The color work was so much fun to do, so I don't really mind going back, and to be honest, I might have purchased some extra Jamiesons to use up the leftovers I have from this project, because obviously you buy all these like little 25-gram skeins, but you don't use up all of it in this project. So I bought a kind of lighter brown to knit my Valentine's, his pair, without him knowing. I might have to keep it a secret until next year Valentine's, but he wore them on that day when we were sledging, and it kind of just made me smile and happy. And so I thought, why not make my partner a pair of mittens in kind of more earth tones, in a kind of lighter brown, and using this dark brown for the berries or for the trees. Let's see. So watch this space, but I'm super happy I finished them. I might fix them. I might do it very soon to put that one behind me and feel 100% about them. That was the one finished object for this episode, so let's move on to my currently on the needles, and I am extra excited about this one.
Like a bird on a tree.
So currently I've got about 930 stitches on the needle, so it's all squashed, and I'm using this green from Stash. It is a Cowgirls Blues DK weight, so I'm not holding it double or anything. I've got this much, which I reckon is 2 more rows, but I need to knit 4 more rows. So in order to knit the 2 extra rows, I want to maybe pair these 2.
Forever free. Step back to see the truth around you.
You would have seen some footage from the previous stages as a kind of little bridgeway. Last night I had a bit of a binge watch of some podcasts. I was catching up with a lot of what Marce has been recording this year, and I found a new podcast called Northern Knits and Pearls through my friend Hannah, who's Nakamili, and I just watched a lot of them because my family was asleep very early yesterday, so I think I stayed up till midnight just watching podcasts and finishing this last edge row. I'm like so excited. This is the Stashstravaganza shawl by Stephen West, and I'm calling mine Stashstravaganza. I keep making that mistake because of just calling it Stashstravaganza shawl when I mention the pattern, because I'm using up loads of stash. I kind of started with the leftover Daughters of Shepherd brown yarn, woolly yarn that I used with all these kind of Mondim yarns and kind of scraps from old projects or recent projects. Or this dark red, I've actually got like a sweater's quantity that I'm dreaming up some sweater with, and I just added it because I really like this dark red. So it's all stash yarns. and it's fading this kind of natural yarn as a main color. So I have almost black swart bubbles and then brown Myrhe and the industrial colorway Myrhe, the heritage base in these kind of brown, then grayish brown color. And then a lighter gray here, which is Lana Rara, and then I faded into the lovely Abenaya yarn by Marisa. She is in Portugal, and I really love this yarn. It's her hand spun. It's very loosely spun, but it's so sturdy and so soft and so delicious. I love it. So that was now the last color, and on the last row here of the main color, so that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so 6 wedges, and just before that I ran out of the Abenaya, so I'm using some Myrhe yarn next. That also was a gift from my friend Yvonne, who has given me a lot of Myrhe in the past, and I'm so excited. So both the industrial and the brown were already present from Yvonne, and now for Christmas she gave me 2 skeins of this very subtly pink, almost cream colored Myrhe heritage. So I'm going to use that for the final rows and the cast off I-cord. So this happened last night, this neon yellow ridge. I'm loving all the kind of rainbow colors. It's so colorful, and it's all stash and scraps and end bits and reminders of old projects and stash that friends have shared with me, and it's this whole accumulation of stuff. And I was super happy to choose like the green first and then neon yellow, but I was thinking the neon yellow will make it look like a star because it's this kind of zigzaggy edge as a last stripe. But I had another thought last night. I might add a 7th stripe, so I'm going extra crazy because that means 10 more stitches to cast off and another 10 more rows or 8 more rows than what the pattern really is. I might be extending, I might be going absolutely crazy. This will bring me to stitch count of like really near to 1,000 stitches. I think it will be 965 stitches in this way. I know I'm crazy. I know I'm kind of mental. But I thought if I was to use this stash yarn, this, I don't know if you can tell, the brown that I striped with this yellow ochre, which is Tika yarn, like a little mini skein I had, and which reappeared here with some hair in the first edge stripe. If I use that brown, it would kind of frame it because I have this brown in the top or in the beginning of the project that is natural. As in like the fleece color of the sheep is brown in those yarns, and if I use this natural dyed brown yarn in the last zigzaggy edge, it kind of makes sense to me to frame the shawl in that way. So I think I'm gonna add another zigzaggy edge stripe. I'm crazy. But I'm also crazily excited to finish. I mean, it would be so huge to wear. It's almost like a blanket rather than a shawl. And I like the shape, and I can't wait to get it off this needle because it's kind of squashed on. However, I also don't mind prolonging the project a little bit. So watch the space to find out more. I thought the last thing I wanted to show you with this is a nice progress keeper. I think I put it on here when I last spoke about the project, I think in my Instagram live. So you would have seen since doing that Instagram live and having your support with so many questions back then, I have done 1, 2, 3 edge stitches and the pink. This might have also been already put there in the last podcast. I don't know, because it's very slow at this point. I don't think I podcasted about these beautiful triangles in the Cotti, which is a colorway by Keats Gown. Soon I will be able to show you more. Today I will move the little progress creeper to where I am now, so that next time I can show you how much I've knitted since, or the relation of where I was in the podcast to when I finished it. I'm hoping to finish relatively soon. What other whip do I have to share? I wanted to share one more sweater whip because it's really what I have to work on with dedicated time next. My friends gave me some lovely support during the knit night, so this is the Soiree sweater, a design by Emily Foden, and I'm using the most beautiful Shilasdair yarn, also a Scottish and a plant dyed yarn. It's dyed with indigo and I love it. Let me show you the scheme. So good. Have I got no, I haven't got the label, but I've got the mohair I'm pairing it with. So I'm holding these double. And this is Shilasdair Coara base, which is like an Aran weight. I'm totally off with the gauge, so I'm on a complete different gauge. Almost finished with this bowl of Shilasdair, so I've already wound a new one. And so I have to do some maths to make it work. I had the support of Lee and Hannah, and we worked out I have to actually undo this cast off edge I did on the back and knit 2 of the pattern repeats further. So this cable actually has, that I have 2 more cable crossovers for the back and the front, because in the pattern actually the bottom of the sweater and the part from underarm to shoulders is almost the same length, and I definitely calculated it to be shorter. Sorry, more hair throat. I had really kind of squashed that space and I wouldn't have been happy with that. So before doing the front and dividing these 2 areas where I have to kind of knit them separately and cast off for the neckline, I'm gonna add in 2 more of the pattern repeats than what I had just now planned. And then I will redo the back before joining the shoulder seams and going on to Sleeve Island. I know that in the last podcast I promised to be on Sleeve Island by now. I'm not. Math issues, I would call them. Yes, so they were the whips I wanted to share with you, and now I'm going to share with you an almost whip. My patrons would have already seen, because recently, actually on my birthday, I managed to lose the mitt, the other one of this. I'm so stupid. I double checked and triple checked, there's no chance it's gone. So I admit defeat, and as this yarn is obviously all used up and was special to me yarn, I had to stash dye for other yarns. So this is the same yarn as the colored yarn here, which is Finul, a Norwegian yarn. The company is called Rauma, and this is kind of Finul, the dyed solid colors. In the shop where I work, we have Finul PT, which is melange colors. And here I knitted that with a blacker yarn, like a really light grey, and I'd used that all up I was looking even for little end bits, but I can't find it, so I must have used it up. I think I might have added it to my penguino, so it's nowhere. So I stash dived and found another skein of blacker yarn, this really dark brown, almost black. So I'm gonna have a light and a dark mitt. I'll just have 2 separate ones. And it'll be fun to revisit the Kraai mittens. It's a pattern from Anna Maltz's book Marlisle, A New Direction in Knitting. And it'll also be good to revisit this because I'm about to sell one of the sweaters I've knitted from one of her books. The smaller size, so the kid size version will go into my Mimi Snijder shop. And I have just written a reflection about it as a blog post, so I'm kind of excited to be honest about these things because I really miss Anna Maltz. But as things moved through our community in 2019, I think it already happened in 2020. Anna Maltz is no longer really on social media. She's not really sharing about her book, although it's a really good book. And I think a lot of it has to do with personal frustrations, but it's all also based in the whole confrontation about designers being gatekeepers in our community and the tasks that we have as, you know, white privileged women gatekeeping a community that is leaving, you know, Black women and men and women of color and marginalized folks like First Nations and indigenous communities kind of on the outskirts, or actually like other bigger American designers using indigenous culture for their own promotions. And there is so much wrongdoing in our community, and as part of that I think Anna Maltz was called to talk, to speak, and she somehow didn't feel like it, or felt like, I didn't really understand where this came from, but felt like she doesn't owe to say anything. And I felt a bit sad because I felt she is a very good speaker, a public speaker, and she is a very opinionated and actually a very open character, and always had supported kind of an anti-ageist and very open community. And suddenly it felt like this was all too much, and as there were also quite a few white privileged designers, the fragility showed with quite a few of these gatekeeping characters. And I just felt, as a friend and also as a person in this community, I felt both shocked and also let down by a friend when they don't announce clear situations or work forward, but kind of retreat in a way, or feel too much personal pain and not a lot of community responsibility. But I also understand that it's everybody's free choice, and if you feel hurt, and especially if publishers are involved, and there is also personal hurt and professional hurt and differences and stress. Like, I understand it's a multi-layered cake and it isn't as easy as Mimi saying, I was also disappointed and I said this, I said, why don't you just, you know, speak out and say, and yeah, to kind of feel that that advice was maybe a step too far. But I also think we have more responsibility as people in this community, and that as a gatekeeper, clearly you have to open the gate and throw the key away when it's the time to do so. But our community isn't like that, is it? Especially when it comes to that side where there is kind of like a professional side or an industrial side to the community. There is a lot of dealings that, as just a knitter or podcast in this community, I might not fully understand, but I know, and I'm quite outspoken, that I will not knit, purchase or knit anything from liner. I'm very, very reflective of what publishers use, whom, how, and what they kind of put on the front. And then the camera cut out. I've just had a moment to think, but I also still wanted to finish that thought that I've chosen to not knit certain designers because they put themselves somehow in a position where their world and their view of things matters more than others, and I disagree. I choose to listen to the voices of Black women, of brown women, of women with First Nation roots, and I will, in my own anti-racism work, I learned that these are the voices that matter to me, and I will listen. And I think that white privileged knitters and designers and makers in the community can choose to do so, or they can choose to see their own view. And all this doesn't exclude the necessity for grief, because I still grieve for the loss of that connection. I still grieve for, the designs I've knitted, and I want to carry on working through that. I miss my friend, and I don't excuse anything. And at the same time, I understand reasons to step away, but there's no privilege in the world that makes it okay to step away from what we're responsible for in this world. And if we've caused hurt, we shall look into it and, help those that we did. So the same here. If I've now caused help with this outbreak of thoughts and emotions, then I apologize, or I'm here to listen to how this has hurt you, for you to hear why I'm going back to Kraai mittens and thinking about it. And also I lost my S shawl exactly a year ago, maybe in about 2 weeks time, a year ago. And I will mark that anniversary with knitting it again. And these are my processes that through knitting I will work through that grief, and through visiting Anna's Myrhe book, I'm going to work through that grief as a kind of personal thing and a personal knitterly thing. And I miss my shawl, and the yarns were deliciously perfect. So I'm gonna visit those yarn makers in my stitches, and I'm gonna visit that friendship in my stitches and in my memory, and I think that's okay. That's good for me, and it's only honest to make that part of my podcast. With all the thoughts and backlog that I connect with it, and I wonder what you think about it. You're always welcome to comment, converse, critique, open that corner of my mind to go further, because in conversations we can go further. If we close those doors, or if we retreat, then we cannot go further in those conversations. That's how I feel, and I do want to go further with conversations, but also with my inner process of learning what anti-racism means to me, and learning what knitting and grief means to me. So these are topics that are just close to my heart that I'm processing. have just seen some mending because I thought, yeah, I need to go into the whole mending thing now because I could carry on talking about all of that for hours, and I know it's also a matter of mending. I have mended these culottes. Let's see if I can show. Can you see a little bit? Look at this bit. I'm gonna try and put it into one of my embroidery hoops to film it as well a little bit, and I'm very excited. These culottes are now on the mend, and you can go back to my Yarnchix News episode to find out a little bit more. And I still have to carry on mending these, though I do wear them in between, as you might be able to tell. I need to re-hem the bottoms, so I got them caught in my bicycle, you know, where the pedals are, the ring with all the spikes. So I've torn a little hole, so I will maybe add a little weave to it, or maybe like a honeycomb mend, and I will hem the bottom again where the thread must have been broken at some point, or just snapped when I got it stuck in the bike or something, I don't know, but I'll have to re-hem one whole leg, and the other side, half of the hem has come loose, so I bought some black thread to do that, so I'm very happy. There is another mending project I worked on a lot and shared on my Instagram, you might have seen. It's this very classic jeans shirt. And I shared pictures mainly of this kind of pocket patch that I've done. There is more mending that needs to happen here. And there is this kind of collar mend that's happened. And I'm gonna film a little mending vlog. I always make a vlog for Patreon that is a project-based vlog. And this time this is the project. So the March vlog will be filming this and talking about it in a little bit more detail and carrying on mending it. So I'm excited to share that. I also started a second shirt project, which is this really nice loose silk shirt that I like wearing in summer. And maybe you can tell the embroidery hoop, it's attached to the bottom hem. On the back I've got this little tear. It's a really tiny little tear. And I've started by kind of adding this also very fine cotton, I think. I don't think that's a silk. So I've added that to the inside with a seed stitch, so it's very loosely attached. So I'm gonna think about how I'm gonna mend that, but this is just for now to fix the tear so it doesn't tear further whilst I'm mending. And now I think I'm gonna do like a little darn or a weave rather than many stitches. I think I'm gonna weave something over the top of it, and then I saw there's another hole here on the seam. Gonna patch that up somehow. And these have got really interesting shaped pockets. I like the triangular seam at the top. So I've decided to get rid of the button and maybe add little triangles instead to kind of enhance that. I might use more of this old fabric. I basically cut into a little pillowcase, which was, it also had holes and torn rips, and I simply don't have a pillow that small, so it was kind of a weird moment where I just cut into the fabric, which in hindsight was like, oh, could have mended that as well, but maybe it's okay to use it for finer mends, like a light fabric. So that would have been my mending part, and I'm very excited that you can always find out more through past episodes. And if you're into this kind of stuff, you can subscribe to my Patreon page, which I'm super excited to have that support and so thankful for the community that's growing there. I host my community make-alongs over there as well, so you can expect a lot of free stash craft along banter coming to that page soon, because the community things like knit alongs or craft alongs like the stash crafting I have as free content on this website to try and create a space where I can do the stuff that I used to do on Ravelry, and I'm leaving Ravelry this month because they're not being inclusive to people who have visual challenges, migraines and seizures due to their new design. And at the end of March they've decided to retire the old design, so the only way to be more inclusive for me and my podcast is to go elsewhere. So there, you've got it. Oh, the other thing I'm filming for Patreon is a week with Mimi vlog, and I'm editing that today, so that should go up first to all patrons. It's always the last week of the month that I film, and I'm very excited to edit that today. And then actually I'm very excited to edit this, which is quite, yeah, it's quite exciting to feel that feeling about editing, because there's usually this big pressure to get it right and get going. And the other treat I got was some mail with a beautiful pin. I would have shared it. I might share a photo here because I can't find it right now. And these gorgeous puka teas from Hannah. I got mail from Holland and I really enjoyed unpacking it, and I already ate the chocolate so I can't show it. And I'm drinking her puka tea that she sent for the podcast, and I so appreciate someone sending me tea and these nice words, and it felt it just felt so glorious to unpack something every day. And I got to unpack something again today, so I'll show you that, and then I'll move on to share the Tarot Knit Oracle. I got to see my friend for coffee, like a walkabout coffee in Berlin, and she gave me my present. This is a hand-woven shawl, like a little scarf, and she made it by hand. She's actually, I'm her little weaving apprentice. I'm learning. Body loom, I don't know how you call it. Oh god, I forgot. I've gone all funny because I'm wearing my new shawl and I'm so excited. And there is a beautiful friend of mine, and she is a graphic designer, but she's mainly an illustrator, and we hang out a lot. And she made this, and she's taught me how to use the like heddle and loom, and it's a backstrap. That's the name for it, a backstrap. A loom, and I'm making myself a belt, and she made me this, and I absolutely love it. I love the colors, I love everything about it. I'm so glad to know Anda and to just hang out more and spend time now that it's spring. I hope we will get to meet outdoors a bit more. I think that's it. I showed everything that I was given, that I wanted to show. I was given some books as well and stuff, but I'm going to keep the books out because I know I've gone over time, and I really do want to share my Tarot Knit Oracle and my knit reportage, which is a kombucha reportage or kombucha brewing information thing. So I will need to chat about that a little bit to the camera as well. I had so much fun brewing and recording a little bit of the brewing, and I hope you enjoy it. And I am so grateful for you to spend your time with me. I know there's so many places where you could end up, and if you were new today, I hope it was interesting, or some of the conversations. The camera cut out just as I was saying. Thank you for watching, and to my Long-term Yarnchix Podcast viewers, it is always so lovely to have you over. Thank you for spending time with me here, and I hope to see you soon. I hope you enjoy the Tarot Knit Oracle. I'm gonna ask all about grief and the process of grief, so 4 cards so that I can have a bit of a outlook, and it'll be visual with text and no chatter, and then the knit reportage with my kombucha brewing. Have a very happy month of March and tune in soon for some more. I record monthly podcasts and I'm excited to share more of my crafts with you. All the best. Bye. Welcome to this knit reportage where I share about my kombucha brewing. I started brewing when I received this recipe and published it in my zine. It's upside down. The June recipe by Delfina or Finny's Green Kitchen, and following her, and also with one of the scobis she gave me for June, I started brewing. Yarnchix. Welcome to this Yarnchix Podcast short. It is the second one this week as it's my birthday week, and I thought I'll share about my kombucha today. My name is Mimi and I am Leapwed on Instagram, and you can follow Yarnchix Podcast here on YouTube. Please click subscribe. Cheers.